Hi, I'm Britt,
And my name is Alissa.
and this is Skeletales.
And this is a podcast where we strive to answer the age-old question of, is my dead grandma watching me?
That's right, and we share true tales of the strange, unusual, and paranormal.
Heck yeah, we do, Brett. What are we talking about this week?
We're talking about something real trippy, Alyssa. What? Ooh. We're talking about hypnosis stories, but not just any. We're talking about hypnosis horror stories, the kind you don't want to have.
Heck yeah, we are. Hypnosis Horrors. I don't know. I think everyone's seen Office Space, so I thought this might be a fun thing. I just really want to know if the real life Office Space ever happened, where the idea is that guy got hypnotized on stage, and then, this is a spoiler alert, and then the hypnotist dies, right? He dies, and so the guy in Office Space is like forever hypnotized.
I totally forgot about that part of the 30-year-old movie.
But I don't even remember, I don't know what he was hypnotized as. Maybe he didn't give a care or care about anything. He's like, I don't care. And then he ends up owning the company by the end of the movie or something. Anyway, that was it. Mostly the part where the guy gets hypnotized, the hypnotist dies, and now he's stuck hypnotized. My imagination runs wild.
My brain went to Zoolander, where the guy was hypnotized to kill the Prime Minister of Malaysia. That's the horror story that I was like, horror? I'm excited to hear what you have. This is gonna be a wild roll of the dice. You get what you get stories.
Yeah, I was just curious if there's any kind of crazy wild, not everything always goes to plan. Sometimes these, hypnosis, just like anything else, can probably get out of hand. I was just curious what we could dig up.
Well, now I need to know. I need to know
Okay.
what story you have first.
This is also not a horror story at all. This is just about hypnosis. It's
That's fine.
okay. We're not off to a horrific start. We won't be off to a horrific start. Okay. Just to warn you.
Let's ease into it.
Okay. What's the opposite of a trigger warning? This will be real.
Letdown warning?
No.
Just kidding. It's going to be great.
Don't get too excited. All right. This story comes from Richard Martini, and he says, I'm not a hypnotist, but I've been filming people under deep hypnosis for a decade now, and each story is completely unique from the previous one. But perhaps the most interesting story I've filmed was a fellow who described in detail his life planning session. Now, life planning session, from what I know, is where people will choose their life before they come to this planet, before their birth. They'll choose their parents, they'll choose where they live.
Okay.
They'll choose they're literally choosing the life that they're going to have on this planet this time around. So the fellow I was filming remembered his planning session with such great clarity. He said that in preparation for the session, he did as much research as he could. He said he went into his library. Some called this an Akashic library. It's a word in Sanskrit that means hall of records. So there's no religious affiliation associated with it. We all have one and we all access it eventually. And he looked carefully through all of his previous lifelines to gain insight into what qualities he wanted to explore in his current life. He said he was physically sitting at a kind of desk that was in this library and going through what appeared to be a microfiche of each lifetime. He'd withdraw a card, look at it carefully to see what things had occurred in his previous lifetimes that he needed to work on. And then he said he went into an auditorium of sorts, which had a stage which he was standing on, and in front of him was his council of wise beings who have kept an eye on him over all of his lifetimes. He said the audience was filled with friends he'd had over many of those lifetimes, and they could add or comment or say something if they wished. But he said it was like doing a doctoral dissertation in front of educators. He would suggest what he wanted to accomplish and the specific details of how that would occur, but just the broad strokes, Like he was aware that he was going to be born into a military family and how that would encourage him to join the Marines and become a leader. But when he left the Marine Corps, he would find corporate success in electronics. But during the new career, he would meet someone who would open the door to spirituality for him. And then he would take that path and become a hypnotherapist.
How convenient. Oodalali.
Filming him have this memory where he was able to access this event in great detail was unusual and thrilling. It was something that I'd never witnessed before in my life. And while under deep hypnosis, this man was able to access the why and how and when and who he was going to be and had become.
Well done, Richard.
That was, I thought the Akashic Records, I was like, oh, this sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, I'm ready to see what kind of books, microfiche he pulls out. What kind of future is he going to have?
They lost me at microfiche because I was like, I don't know if the Akashic Records are kept on microfiche. That seems a little
modern age,
prehistoric. For such the records of lifetimes. Okay, well, that might have been a bust. I'm real sorry.
You know what? You warned us. Buckle up, Alissa. I have a story for you. And we're going far back into times. Prehistoric, pre-microfiche.
Oh, my God.
Okay, not prehistoric. That was an over-exaggeration. Here we go. November 1909. Everton, a former salesman who became a traveling magician and amateur hypnotist, was performing a show in Somerville, New Jersey. Asking for a volunteer, he selected 35-year-old streetcar conductor Robert John Simpson and a 16-year-old boy named Edward Thompson to assist him in demonstrating his hypnosis abilities. After making Simpson go to sleep, Everton commanded the man's body to go into a rigid position. To demonstrate how he was able to accomplish this, the magician positioned Simpson's body across 2 chairs and proceeded to stand and jump on his abdomen, with the body not collapsing from the weight. So imagine a rigid body across 2 chairs and a hypnotist jumping up and down on this man's abdomen. Triumphantly, Everton jumped to the ground and clapped his hands to signify that Simpson could now wake up. Instead, his subject fell to the floor between the chairs. His eyes rolled up in his head and his tongue lolled out. Despite repeated attempts, clapping, he would not wake up. A terrified Everton worked on Simpson for over an hour as the audience buzzed around excitedly. Doctors were summoned and similarly had no luck in bringing the prone man around. He was finally taken to the hospital as police notified Everton that if Simpson wasn't revived, he would be facing arrest for his death. Shortly after midnight that night, Simpson was officially declared dead. Everton was in a panic. A middle-of-the-night autopsy was planned, but he was given one more chance to prove that the man wasn't dead, but merely still deep in trance. The hypnotist was taken to the morgue around 2 a.m., where he met with William Davenport, the secretary to Somerville's mayor, and also an amateur hypnotist himself. He was convinced that he could still bring the unresponsive man around. The 2 hypnotists walked around and around Simpson's body, whispering in his ear, and yelling commands out loud like, Bob, can you hear me? Your heart is beginning to beat. Your heart is beginning to beat. They continued to plead and demand that the man wake up. But of course, he was long dead. Finally giving up, Everton was placed under arrest and taken to jail. Little more than a month later, Everton was up for trial. After spending several days behind bars, he was able to gain freedom on $2,000 bond pending his appearance in court. During that time, he continued to do hypnosis in order to raise money for his defense. Not only that, but in each of these shows, he used Thompson, that 16-year-old boy from the first show. Everton was vigorous in preparing his defense, asserting that not only had Simpson died from heart disease, but that he had been drinking heavily the day of his death. He even announced at one of his fundraising shows, just before he put his teen assistant under hypnosis, his words, verbatim. Oh, what's an old-timey salesperson sound like?
Yeah, you want to? Hey, buy this car. See,
Oh yeah, New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, Jersey.
I've been charged with murder. It's the result of what I am now about to do, and yet I am perfectly willing to do all that I did then, because I am sure that the unfortunate Simpson did not die of hypnotism in any form.
This accent is really, really exciting. It's very dynamic.
Thank you. I knew that he was dead as soon as he dropped upon the stage at Somerville. I merely used all my hypnotic powers to convince the physicians that hypnotism had not killed him, and therefore it could not restore him. My hypnotism was merely a coincidence with heart disease. The disease may have made Simpson a good subject, but he died of it. Hypnotism cannot hurt a normal heart. Everton never went to trial because the doctors believed him and concurred that it was indeed heart disease. So the remainder of Everton's life is a little hazy. In 1920, he was working as an automobile salesman in Newark, New Jersey, and his apartment was raided by prohibition officers. His wife attempted to stop law enforcement from entering their home by threatening to throw a glass of water at them. However, they brushed her aside and found $6,000 worth of booze inside, which he claimed was, "It's just my private stock." It is believed that he died around 1935 in the Newark area, and we don't know when he really stopped performing hypnotism. Even though his act didn't cause Simpson's death, it would seem that his close call with spending the rest of his life in prison should have been motivation to choose a different line of work. Not many hypnotists do the jump on your hypnotized person act anymore.
Well, not anymore. Look what happens.
Mm-hmm.
No. I like how, but he was just an amateur hypnotist, a professional magician, amateur hypnotist. Okay.
Exactly.
To stay in his lane. Jeez. That was a good story though. I like that story. I enjoyed.
I got a good chuckle from that one. He sounds like a real character, this Everton fella.
I was rooting for him when he was like, "Start the heart. Your heart is beating again." I'm like, I was kind of convinced for a second that might work. But
Bab, just wake up,
Bab. Okay. I have a couple just like little itty bitty guys kind of.
Ooh, me too. Should we just like itty bitty?
Pam.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the first one goes, we had a hypnotist at our senior night after we graduated from high school. Our whole senior class watched the 5 volunteers go up on stage, and I guess he also tried to hypnotize the audience as well to see who was susceptible or to get more volunteers. A few more people went under, quote unquote, but one girl started to freak the fuck out. I guess when he told us to think about going deeper down a hole, she thought she was underwater. So she started to hold her breath and couldn't wake up. Shit got real for about 5 minutes until he was finally able to snap her out of whatever she was doing. Not sure if she was just doing it for attention, but her lips started to turn blue. So it was pretty scary. She was fine, but the dude stayed for like an hour after the show just to make sure that she wouldn't fall back into whatever he did.
Well, that was almost another hypnosis death right there.
A hypnosis murder, horror.
How shitty would that be to be like, "Oh my God, your daughter died. How'd she die?" She held her breath.
That would be a really horrible way to die. She thought she was drowning.
God, I know. It was just all in her mind.
In an auditorium. That's what you tell people?
Surrounded by people. Oh my God, I know. Okay, you ready for my itty bitty? This was not me, but a very close friend of mine. We went to the fair and they had a hypnotism act. When he asked who wanted to be brought up on stage, I pretty much jumped out of my seat and told him to pick her. And sure enough, he did. They brought up about 10 people and did their little tricks and even made her think that she'd won the lottery. She then began crying on stage and told everyone that she'd lost her job that day and that this was a true gift from God. The entire audience cringed. After it was all said and done and we asked her what had happened, she just said that she remembers it like it was a dream. I just think of the audience being like, oh,
yeah,
you didn't really win the lottery.
That's brutal. Thinking about it like it's a dream, that's got to be weird. I feel like that would be uncomfortable. Like thinking about, it's probably like being really drunk too when you're like, oh shit.
It's all just a bit hazy. What did I do last night?
Yeah. A little hazy. Oh, speaking of cringe, I have a story.
I love these. Okay.
It starts 2 years ago. I went to a convention that had a hypnotist show on a late Saturday evening. That show turned out to be an 18-plus hypnotist show. He asked for some volunteers to go up, and me being the skeptic, I ended up going up with encouragement from some of my friends. So I won't go into too much detail in terms of me being all sleepy and all that jazz, but as a person who, no matter how drunk I get, I will never ever dance or sing. This guy was able to get me to dance provocatively against a stranger I had never met before. He also told me that there was an orgasm button on my wrist and only he could trigger it. I proceeded to moan very loudly whenever he came by and did it. There was another moment where he told me whenever I tried to say my name that I would get this feeling that insects were biting my testicles. The craziest thing to me was I knew what I was doing deep down, but I couldn't control it. It was honestly the most bizarre thing ever. I'm actually going to the same convention this year, but I'm not entirely certain if he will be there. If he is, I might try it again, given the opportunity.
Really? Oh, that's great. Would you do it? Would you go on stage if they were looking for volunteers?
No, not for this one. Not for an 18-plus one.
What about just like a state fair?
Yeah, sure.
You would?
Yeah, I'm curious if I'm hypnotizable. I have O-negative blood, so.
Because that matters.
I don't know.
I'm very excited to share this story with you, Alyssa.
Okay.
I went to a hypnotist comedian show for a work event, and it was funny and stuff, but it seemed a little bogus. At one point, the hypnotist was walking around with a long, pink, skinny balloon that was blown up, kind of like a balloon animal, and he was hitting all the people that were on the stage with it and saying that it was his penis. Most of the people cringed and ducked away or hid it away or fake stroked it at being stupid. However, this one girl took it in her hands and totally started sucking all over it, deep throating it, just really getting into it. This guy stood up in the crowd and says, "Fuck you, Christine, you stupid slut. You can find your own ride home." And ran out. Then 3 minutes later, he ran back in and was yelling more obscenities at her until he was escorted out. At the end, she got off the stage and seemed genuinely confused as to where her boyfriend was. Someone at her table explained it to her, and she started bawling and ran out. So I don't know if it was just an elaborate ruse to make the show more exciting, but it was real funny.
The best part of it for sure is the guy who stands up and
Fuck you, Christine! So good.
That's horrible. That's really funny. I got another little guy for you. So this is a little peek inside the mind of someone who's hypnotized. So we might be able to understand Christine's state of mind a little more. So this one says, I interviewed a stage hypnotist for a documentary in film school, and he hypnotized me for the film. The scary thing about it for me was that it wasn't as if he said something and I just did it unconsciously. It was that everything he said just made so much sense. I still felt like I had complete control if I wanted to break out of it, but it was so calming and relaxing that I didn't want to break out of it. You know that feeling when you've just woken up, but you haven't moved yet, and you know that when you do move, you'll actually have to get out of bed and start the day. So you lie there and you try to get up, but you can't get up because you don't really want to. It was exactly like that. And after experiencing it, I can see how people can get so easily brainwashed in the right circumstances. Okay, well, that doesn't make much sense when applied to Kristen's situation. She was just so comfortable, so in the moment.
Oh, hello, Dong. Don't mind if we do.
Oh, Lord. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, everything just makes so much sense. Like, yeah, you're right. I am a dog.
Reading through some of these stories, it is pretty fascinating what they can do. Like, they'll make you forget your name.
Yeah.
The name you've been saying your entire life. What's your name? I don't know. Or the number 7. I'll say, what's 5 plus 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11. Like the 7 just isn't in their brain anymore. It's so interesting.
Can I, on that note, tell you just a tiny little one real quick?
Absolutely.
This one says, not me, but my brother went to a hypnotism show, was asked to come on stage, and proceeded to spend the next 10 minutes furiously looking for his asshole as he had dropped it somewhere in the crowd. Funniest shit ever.
Oh, it's so good. What does it look like?
I kind of want to go to a hypnotism show. I have seen one. Have you been to a hypnotism show? I didn't even ask you this.
I have not. My older brother used to do comedy, stand-up comedy, and there was a hypnotist show. So I've heard about it, and he's been hypnotized several times, but I personally have not. I kind of want to now also.
I did. It was like at my college. Maybe it was even part of freshman orientation or something like that. And I do remember seeing it. And I remember people like acting like a duck or whatever. And my bullshit meter is on, right? Like I want to know. So that would be why I would get up on stage, is just to see if it would work on me.
Is this legit? Yeah.
But it was compelling. I really enjoyed myself. I would definitely go to another one. They're entertaining.
Well, you might rethink it after hearing this story.
Oh, okay.
This story's from Shaggable Kid. I was hypnotized on a cruise ship a few years ago. I can't really remember what happened in detail. I remember being a bit drunk, being almost pushed on stage by my family, and then sitting down. Aware I was on stage in front of loads of people, I remember closing my eyes and hearing the guy's normal hypnotist chanting thing. And then it was like no one was there. I was alone, still on stage, but extremely horny. I remember thinking, well, if no one's here, I'm getting my little homie out. And began to masturbate on stage. When I suddenly snapped out of it to laughter and complete horror.
Did he really take it out?
Yeah, he did.
No.
So the hypnotist, that was not the hypnotist's plan at all. The guy who got hypnotized just had his own idea in mind of how he was going to take his hypnosis.
What was the instruction?
There was no instruction yet. He literally had just put him to sleep. And immediately after he gets put in his hypnosis state, he starts whipping his dong out.
That's his go-to. He might need a therapist. That's your immediate, like that's what your go-to is as soon as you're in trance.
Okay, you're on a stage and nobody's around and you're really horny. You still don't masturbate on
No,
stage.
I think maybe I'm thinking of Freud, right? Didn't he like do hypnosis and stuff? And he thinks like that seems like a very Freud, like Freud would love this.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
I don't know.
Psychoanalyze it all. Still want to go to that hypnotist.
Was it like a PG show too? Like it wasn't one of these 18 plus ones?
No, just on a cruise ship with a bunch of families.
I forgot about that bit. I think because we were doing all these apparently 18 plus ones, I forgot about the part where he's like on a Disney cruise. Oh, they probably like kicked him off.
How can you? He was in it. He was hypnotized. He's not to blame. Kick the hypnotist off.
I expected to find more stories. Like I didn't find any where the hypnotist died mid hypnotism and the person was stuck that way.
Oh, like your Office Space dream.
Yes.
Yep.
I also didn't find any story of someone being hypnotized and then killing someone. Like it was a defense once or something where someone hypnotized somebody and then told them to go murder the person and they did. Not many cases of hypnotism for evil.
No villainous. Yeah, like I was thinking. A lot of people say that you're still mostly in your right mind, that, you know, you still sort of have control and that you wouldn't do something as drastic as murder. But there have been those few cases, and I think certain people are more susceptible than others that will do whatever the hypnotist says.
Even without being hypnotized, some people will just do that. You know, like some people are easily manipulated with or without like hypnotism. Oh, did this make you want to like go on YouTube and try to hypnotize yourself reading these stories?
No.
Oh, it made me want to.
Oh, well, you should, and then follow back with us. You know what I have done, though? Not entertainment hypnosis, but more self-help hypnosis. Our good friend Laura Lenore, who has been on the podcast, has a podcast, Good Enough and Getting Better. I absolutely love her podcast. She does a hypnosis session, but it's the kind where you're going into yourself, and she does a lot of self-visualization. And each time I listen, I finish the episode just feeling like lighter. Hot plug on our hypnotist friend. Positive, opposite of horror.
Lara is the best. Definitely go check out her podcast. I'm going to go hypnotize myself over there.
You should. If you, dear listeners, have a hypnosis story or know somebody who has had a hypnosis story, please write it into us.
Yes, we want to hear that. You can send it into the hot box at skeletalespodcast@gmail.com. You can also call the hotline.
You can. 302-689-DEAD. 302-689-3323. Alyssa, we actually got a message in our hot box the other day.
Really?
And by the other day, I mean December.
Oh, it slid right by me. That slid so hot into the box.
We really should not be hypnotized.
No, it will not go well.
Says, hey, Britt and Alyssa, I listened to an episode this morning and thumbs up to you. I think that they meant thumbs.
Oh, thumbs up
to you. For interesting tales. Happy holidays. We'll pretend that it wasn't December. Maybe it's Valentine's holiday.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. That's what they meant.
Todd from Maquoketa, Iowa.
Well, thanks, Todd, for giving us that thumbs up. Love it.
You can also message us on the social medias. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, that other one. No, I think that's it, actually. Those are the only places.
You look and let us know where you find us, and then we'll tell you next week.
But you can message us your stories over there or some fun memes. We love a good meme. Go join our Facebook community. That's where all the memes are.
Oh, hey, Britt, we also have a merch shop.
We do. We've got dope shirts, mugs, stickers, buttons, keychains.
Are there any creepy dolls in there?
We got a couple of haunted dolls. I am not shitting you. I think I have 6 haunted dolls in my office as we speak that I've not put in
What?
the shop. So somebody send me some motivational.
Are you getting attached? Are they attaching to you?
Maybe. Like, I kind of want to keep them all. Okay, do you want to see? I actually love your reaction. We'll do an audio reaction video right now of Alissa looking at the dolls that I have.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see it.
I call these gals the Haunted Sisters. We have sister number 1.
Oh, ooh, she's kind of cute, Britt.
That's why I want to keep them all. Sister number 2.
Oh, they're definitely haunted though.
Oh, definitely. Sister number 3.
Oh, they keep going. Okay. Oh,
And sister number 4.
oh, what the fuck is she wearing? What are these outfits?
Pretty sure they're from the 1950s.
They look like fake Barbies. Or maybe they're real Barbies.
Oh, this is a real tiny one. Her eyes open and close. Oh, she's real creepy. She gives off a real My Fair Lady vibe.
Yeah, very Victorian looking. A Victorian ghost.
All right, so a little sneak peek into some haunted dolls that will be going into the shop somewhere in the year 2024. Skeletilspodcast.etsy.com is where you can find all that haunted shit.
Heck yeah.
Also, we didn't do an ad, but I'm going to plug it anyways. HiHelloThere.art has some incredible swag from Jason, who is supporting our show right now. So you can head over there as well if you've got the time.
Man, is there anything else, Brett?
Yes. Oh my God. There's one more thing.
Okay.
Look at this watch that I'm dangling in front of you right now. God. Look at it closely, left and right, and haunt y'all later.
Haunt you later.
Good night.
What if you did just hypnotize me?